Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Um, Based on the fact that I don't know when, I don't have a proper, better camera to have a little more wider coverage. My wife and I were going to do a Black Friday um, stories and collection, stories and what we did. I'm going to do a vinyl and collection update, although I just ordered two compact discs, but what can you do? Both my Black Friday pickups and a trip we made to Half Price Books a couple weeks ago and found some stuff I would not have expected for the price specifically. Although they weren't too cheap, but anyway. So all right, I may as well get on to it. I only have one compact disc in this update. This I got in the mail. Ours has been many releases over the last few months. Over the last few weeks, they did an encore EP, and then they re-released New Age Heroin, Jimmy Necco. I had this in the background, some of those Empire videos. Uh, of course, New Age Heroin was the second of that trilogy of records he originally released, Jimmy Necco or ours, in 2018. But apparently, this wasn't the proper track list. I mean, ours released Rockets for a Glare early in the year with a lot of songs. The songs from this period of time, in effect, almost all of them, including the EPs that ours put out, around the time of the self-titled in 2020 or in 2021 rather. Um, almost all of these songs have are now been re-released and remixed, I guess, but in different track lists. In the more, I guess, what Jimmy Necco thought as the intended track list. But anyways, this is the New Age Heroin, one of them, because Rocket Squad Glare was one of them, and then this Encore EP has some of them too from those EPs and New Age Heroin, and the self-titled. Not too much from Ballet the Boxer though. That's the only one that's kind of sort of staying on its own. But I like that this album has. If you want to compare it to the 2018 version, I have it on vinyl over there. Grab it quickly. Um, I didn't think about that. This album, this is the 2018 version. It's kind of ballad heavy, and it's sort of less ballad heavy than this one. Um, but it doesn't have Pain Aside. However, Pain Aside ended up on Encore, so um, but it does have Echo from the self-titled and Get That Feeling, which I love from the self-titled, and it's got Across the Clouds from the self-titled. So it took a bunch of the best songs from the self-titled and put them on New Age Heroin, in effect. But it's not New Age Heroin 2 either. So it's got Fly, which was my favorite track on this album for the longest time. It's got a lot of the same songs still. Ring the Bell, but Shine, that was from the self-titled in 21. So I've only listened to part of it, but I know these songs. I haven't listened to the difference in the mixes and stuff, and I haven't even gotten around to listen to the. I mean, come the end of the year, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I think I may do a little bit of a cop out and just put them all in one. Between this and Rockets Red Glare and the Encore EP, but yeah, it's good. I mean, I get it. Jimmy wants to do this. It wasn't an arm and leg, and these CDs were limited. Like I don't know how many are left, and they're never going to probably be printed again. But and I don't think I have the original album on CD. I could be wrong. I don't have time to go look it up. Anyway, ours New Age Heroin. I picked up. I got from the Jimmy Necco to the R's store. So then at Half Price Books a couple weeks ago, I showed a couple records I got, and then I got one other pre-order in the mail. I picked up, and I think I show this? Yeah, I did. I found a copy for whatever it was, $20 of Diorama from Silverchair. I mean, people love this album, and including my friend Dan from Vinyl Fury. I like it. I talked about it in the 2002 Empire video. But to find it for $20, it's decent condition. I don't know if it was colored. I don't think this is in a because I know it was pressed sometime around the time it came out, or maybe it was later in the 2000s. Because the one that I think Dan had talked about in at least one of his videos, how he got one and wasn't happy. Yeah, this is a green, so this is the later pressing. It's going to be more recent pressing, but it's kind of a lime green. But anyway, Diorama, produced by at least some of it, I believe, are mixed by David Bottrill. who I love a lot of his other work, with King Crimson and Fair to Midland and um, Coy and Cambria, I Mother Earth, you name it. But and Van Dyke Parks of the Beach Boys, of course, who famously worked with the Beach Boys, worked with Silverchair and Daniel Johns on this record as well. So it's great to finally get a copy of that. I mean, it's like symphonic grunge. You can almost that's very orchestral, like orchestral grunge. I mean, you can see where they go with the next record with based on hearing this compared to the previous Silverchair albums, Neon Ballroom and Frog Stomp. You can sort of see where they were going with Young Modern when you hear this. They're really going orchestral prog, really like progressive art rock. So and then I saw this one. Someone sold like probably got the box set or had all these and then got the box, wanted to get rid of them. And I'm not a massive fan of this album, but I like enough of it that I had to get it. Amputecture from the Mars Volta, 2006. The follow-up for Francis the Mute. And I'll be showing it in my 2006 video, of course, and so it's kind of good to just show it here. I mean, they're being very ambitious. I know that Cedric's vocals are very nasal. My favorite parts of this actually are some of the shorter tracks, like Vermicide and Viscera Eyes, I think it is. There's the Day of the Baphomets epic and Tetragrammaton. I mean, I haven't listened to this in so long. It meanders at points. It takes some of the psych noodling and Francis the Mute and goes kind of further with it. Then there's Mecha Amputexture, but it's been a long time since I spent time. Been many years since I spent much time with this whole record, and I probably should do that. But I think this is probably the one that came out a few years ago, not the original. But the Mars Volta, up until that box set came out, and was it 21 or 22? I think it was 22. White. Their vinyl records, their vinyl pressings existed into the late 2000s, early 2010s. Notoriously were super expensive. This is blue. So I never got any of them. I found a few of singles and a couple other pieces that were more less collectible. Less collectible is not the right word. They were more collectible, but less in demand. A couple of the singles on vinyl, but I never found them for the longest time. And then they finally reissued them. I got that unauthorized bootleg of Francis on the record store day of 2019, 2018. It wasn't even authorized by the band. I paid $50 for it, but yeah, $40 for this was nothing. I'm trying to be budget conscious, but it was I like this album enough. When am I going to see a Mars Volta album like this, double for that matter, for $40? So all right, the last one on this update that isn't part of Black Friday Record Store Day, and I'm really starting to burn up here. You put your furnace on because it's super cold out, and then this house it overheats after about 20 minutes. Yeah, I did open this. The debut EP from Mutemath, which I think I actually showed this also in the 2004 video, which includes a track from Paul Meany's solo stuff, which was kind of weird. It was it was a reason to get it out there. And which, by the way, Paul Meany just put out a single, and the Distance EP is coming out. Supposed to come out today sometime, the 5th. But that motivational speaker album might still be not until next year sometime. But I really like that track he just uploaded. But yeah, the Reset EP, Plan B, Progress, it's thick pressing, just a black pressing, Control, Peculiar People, Okay, and Reset. I mean, if you're a Mutemath fan and you collect vinyl, you'd want to have this, although it was not cheap, unfortunately, for an EP especially, but at least he gave us an extra track and everything. So, and it's a gatefold for that matter. Originally came out in 2004. All right, so now on to the big haul. Now, the brief story, if my wife and I end up doing another video together, I'll, I don't know if I'll reiterate some of this stuff, but this is the stuff I found at the brand new Little Cana location of Cheapo, who they just opened on Friday rather, Black Friday, last Friday. they did not have Black Friday record store day items. They were just getting they're still getting stuff on the floor and stuff, but there was enough. It was great to see, and I found a bunch of stuff I would not have expected. Speaking of the Mars Volta, the Tremulant EP, which I've been meaning to revisit this, of like talking about this. Their debut EP from 2002, which again, this is another case where they pressed more of them after they did that box set. And I paid whatever $17 for an EP. Again, that's not as much as the reset EP from mutemath, but um, yeah, I mean it's the early Mars Volta is to me where they were best, so it's kind of a no brainer. And I wanted this for a while because it was I saw it at least once. I never didn't buy it a couple of years ago on I think it was on Record Store Day. I think it was out at Solstice. So here's the insert and everything. I think Jeremy Ward is on this. He was one of the primary songwriters actually. But so I got that, and then there was one other. No, it's other used stuff. Okay, I haven't opened. Well, the one I showed the picture of, finally got myself a copy of, and I haven't opened this. I can try to open it quickly here. I wanted to stop the video like I frequently had to do. One of my missing Marillion records. There we go. I don't know how much I paid for it. I paid what was it, $24 for a full length. Would I rather have bought this from Racket Records? I suppose in some ways to support the band directly. And would have I rather had a first pressing or one of the more recent pressings? Maybe in some ways, but I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to collect them at this point. Made in Germany. So this would probably be, this is the 2022, I believe, remix, yes, of Marillion's 1991 second album with Steve Hogarth, Holidays in Eden. So, uh, which, inches me slightly closer to finally completing my whole, like, full-length vinyl collection of Marillion. I mean, again, I would buy a first pressing for the right price, probably on Discogs. Just can't buy everything. There probably are some that aren't too bad, but this is probably a thicker pressing than that, of course. Um, Great record. I don't know sonically how much better this sounds. I originally wasn't that into this album, although I never hated it, but the commercial approach to so many of the songs, I've talked about this many times, but my favorites are the Sway at the End, This Town, The Rake's Progress, and The 100 Nights. Absolutely. It's got that line, you when you were asked to describe the qualities you despise, you realize you're describing yourself. And then The Party, that's the other banger on this album. I like some of the Dryland, of course, was a song that Hogarth had done with his previous band. Yeah, I mean, Splintering Heart is decent. The title track, Waiting to Happen's okay. I don't like adore this record, but I think they put out record. I prefer this record over some others. And again, I don't know what the remix sounds like comparably. People bought that box set, the CD box set a few years ago, talking about it. So all right, there's one more to open. I'll show, and then I'll show the ones that I got used. This kind of came out of nowhere. I was looking for something else in the S's in the metal section. Although I've always been kind of like, maybe they'll have some of these. And I know, of course, I've got the first album, like a promo of the first album I got from Japan for like $5 many years ago. I showed it when I was in my storage space. But the second Shadow Gallery album, Carved in Stone, this kind of came out. I don't know where this, that maybe Inside Out's been reissuing them. But I mean, it was $40, but this is in my top 3 Shadow Gallery albums, Gatefold and everything. Pennsylvania's own studio project for the most, pretty much, prog metal stalwarts. Their debut album came out the same, like a week or two before Images and Words, but got this. Yeah, this is a new pressing, obviously. The other one that it's cool to have the self-titled album on, because that's a first pressing, but this is a thick pressing. But it's whatever. It's a splatter red. It's almost like not a raspberry, but like I don't know. Crystalline Dream is probably the biggest banger. I talked about this album in my '92 video, the albums of the year thing I did how many months ago. But Yeah, it's a great record. I mean, at one point I thought, well, because this has real drums, this has to be the number one Shadow Galra. I have more nostalgia and more addiction and history with the self-titled, but this is a close second. There's some other ones I love too, like Tyranny especially and Room 5. Those would be the other two I would seek out, but Carved in Stone, it has all these extra tracks on it, so I don't know if they're listed. They probably are. Yeah, segue, all these little segue parts, which is kind of annoying, but I don't think it completely kills the interest in the album. When I was listening to Shadow Gallery and getting into them it was really like the early 2000s, even though I bought the CD in the late 90s. I didn't like the singer. I didn't like Mike Baker's voice at that point, but I thought it was too high. But yeah, I just got past it. It's like, yeah, but the music's so damn good. The riffs, the vocal harmonies, and the dream fantasy elements, and the piano parts, and the vocal like layers, and yeah, Alaska's on this album. There's a lot of great tracks on it. I mean, again, Crystalline Dream's the banger, but Cliffhanger, you know, it's like taking the self-titled in some ways and kind of upping the production and just making it even bigger in some ways. Um, Anyways, it was great to find that. It wasn't like cheap, but I mean, between that and the mutemath and Morse Volt, I spent like 120 bucks, but that was over like 2 months anyways. So then I found some other things that I was like shocked. I felt like um because this was the opening day of their store, maybe I'd find something really cool, and it sort of happened. It was like a karma thing in a way. So I found a copy. There was some other records they have there. I'm gonna go back there from 10cc. How Dare You, which has become one of my favorites. It has that track. I'm Mandy, Fly Me, among others. I mean, gotten really into 10cc. I mean, I'm still getting it, but in the process, 10cc has become one of my more listened to bands. They should have been on my Spotify Wrapped. They weren't. But yeah, look at this gatefold. This is, I think, I looked it up. It's an early pressing if it's not a first pressing. But How Dare You? I've been looking for this for at least the last 6 months. So, Rock and Roll Lullaby, art for art's sake. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, it's great to finally get a copy. I can't remember. This is an American pressing, I think. It's hard on Discogs when they got like 53 different versions, and you find the serial number, and then there's like 7 versions. You have to compare the artwork and all this other stuff to it, because the artwork's subtly different. Like one letter, and sometimes it's not even on there, so you just have to kind of guess and go with it. Because I'm not going to be adding another release. Some of those albums have like over 100. But I'm trying to slowly but surely finally put my collection in Discogs. So the last couple releases, something I never thought I'd see, though they're not worth that much money according to Discogs, but I found two 12-inch singles from Pat Metheny's First Circle. I didn't even realize these existed. I guess I'm not shocked, but one is the title track, an edit of the title track, which is a fantastic piece. Again, my favorite Pat Metheny group album. Paul Wertigo is like my favorite drummer, maybe his best performance. It's got an edit of End of the Game on it, and then, yeah, it's a promo. And then Yolanda You Learn, which I pushed some stuff. I'd even choose this one over. That's one of the most uplifting songs ever. An edit version and then praise. So it's kind of interesting. These are edits. To hear those songs edited isn't my first choice. They could be DJs though, or they could be, yeah, something you'd play on the radio as an edit. But I mean, they're accessible tracks, even though it's jazz fusion of a sort. There's even vocals on them. They're chanting. There's no lyrics, but yeah, and it was like no, it was like $5-6. I'm like, holy crap! This is. I mean, something was in the air when we walked in there, finding the Mars Volta and Marillion, Holidays in Eden, and then Pat Metheny. Those Pat Metheny. So I was gonna. There's some other stuff I didn't buy that I may go back. I did buy. I don't have this on vinyl. I have it on CD. Pat Metheny's Off Ramp too. One an early pressing of this. So yeah, I mean, it was very there's been some things going on left and right over the last couple weeks that have not been the easiest for my wife and I, but at least our Thanksgiving wasn't terrible, but there was still stress in it and stuff. So the record store day, Black Friday record store day, was a fun experience, at least to some degree. And again, we might do a video. My wife found some stuff that she had been looking for a long time too. So, but yeah, Off Ramp is not the first album with Paul Vertigo, but it was the first, maybe in some of the first album, Pat was really emphasizing the synth guitar, the clavier synth. This one has Dan Gottlieb on drums, but of course Lyle Mays, his counterpart, his partner in crime on the Pat Metheny group, Steve Rodby, and Nana Von Killos. The title track is great. I've always liked this. I always feel like this is the most accessible Pat Metheny record, at least from the '80s. Everyone that likes Pat Metheny references, well, yeah, Off Ramp is kind of like required listening. So, anyway, that's it for this vinyl and collection haul. Like I said, I ordered 2 compact discs that I'll be showing over the next, I don't know how many weeks, but and some other stuff. I'm sure we may go back to cheapo again. We didn't go to anywhere else. It's like spend some money, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.